A single bead of sweat clung to the tip of Arthur's nose. It refused to fall, a perfect sphere, holding his warped reflection. Arthur stared, lips parted, lungs locked, as if carved from confusion. His heart, once frantic, was now a silent wait. The world had stopped. Across the clearing, a doe stood frozen, hoof raised, eye fixed on him, empty, glassy, lifeless. Even a fly beside the deer was a motionless blur. The scene was a three-dimensional photograph, and Arthur was trapped inside. He remembered the sun on his neck, the scent of pine, the crunch of a twig, the sudden deer, then nothing. The forest's symphony had been silenced in an instant. Now, only a profound, crushing quiet remained. The droplet of sweat became his anchor, the proof he desperately needed that time still existed. He willed it to fall, to break the spell, to prove the universe still worked. But it held, impossibly. The world hadn't ended in fire or flood. It had ended in a full stop. Arthur was left in the punctuation mark of existence. The moment stretched, unblinking, unending. Arthur tried to move. Nothing happened. His body was encased in invisible resin, the air thick and unyielding. Panic crept in. He was trapped by the moment itself. He tried to close his eyes. His eyelids fluttered, a tiny rebellion. He focused, pushed, strained. Finally, his eyelids descended. Opening them was just as hard. The world returned, unchanged. The deer, the fly, the droplet still frozen. But he had moved. He had created change, however small. It was a colossal victory in the darkness. He was not entirely part of the stillness. He was an anomaly. A ghost haunting a single second. Terror replaced comfort. He was alone in his animation. He tried something bigger, his leg. He poured his will into his left foot, imagining the muscles contracting. The resistance was immense, like wading through concrete. Millimeter by millimeter, his boot began to lift. The sound was internal, a grinding vibration up his bones. He was tearing himself free from the frozen grip of now. Each movement was a battle, but he was not defeated. The world resisted, but he persisted. He was a survivor, refusing to yield. The sliver would not claim him easily. He would move, no matter the cost. The fight had only begun. Arthur pressed on, step by agonizing step. Every movement drained Arthur, not of strength, but of something deeper. The world was a flawless, still life. Leaves hung mid-fall, sunlight cut through the canopy in solid beams. He called it the sliver, a fracture in time, a cosmic error. He could move, but the sliver fought him. Each action was a struggle to inject energy into a dead system. He saw a squirrel frozen on a tree, a spider's web bejeweled with unmoving dew. The silence was a suffocating presence, not just an absence of sound. Nature was chaos and movement. This was sterile stasis. To move was to fight the universe itself. A simple step took minutes of agony. Turning his head was monumental. The world wanted him to surrender, to become another statue. But Arthur's will was forged in survival. He would not yield to the amber. He would walk, defy, and endure. The sliver pressed in, but he pressed back. He learned the new physics of his prison. Every inch gained was a victory. He would not become part of the scene. He would not be erased. The silence would not win. Arthur moved, and the sliver trembled. He was not finished yet. On his third day, Arthur saw it. A distortion at the clearing's edge. A shifting shape of pale gray like static, formless but present. He called it the tracer. It drifted effortlessly, erasing whatever it touched. A fern vanished beneath it, leaving only bare earth. The tracer didn't destroy, it erased, leaving no trace. Dread settled in Arthur's soul. This was not just a prison, but a hunting ground. The tracer was the predator, or perhaps the janitor, cleaning up stray data. He watched as it erased the deer's rear legs, leaving the front half suspended. The tracer was the embodiment of nullity. Standing still was not an option. The creature moved in slow, sweeping patterns, mindless, but inevitable. Eventually, it would find him. He had to keep moving, had to find a way out. The struggle was now for existence itself. The enemy could unwrite reality. Arthur's only hope was motion. The effort of movement forced Arthur inward, memories flooding his mind. He saw his wife, Eleanor, her smile vivid against the dead world. He remembered the day they met, the scent of rain, the warmth of her hand. These memories were both solace and torment, a reminder of all he'd lost. He recalled his ranger days, the sun on his back, the satisfaction of rescue. Now his skills seemed useless in a world without movement. Yet patience and endurance remained. He forced himself into a routine move: rest, observe. He tracked the tracer's path, rationed his will. The memories kept him sane, but also wounded him. Each happy moment was a fresh ache. He saw his daughter's first steps, her wedding day, ghosts from a living world. He was an exile, haunted by what he could never return to. The stillness crept inside, a cold patch around his heart. But he clung to memory as a reason to fight. The past was his anchor. He would not let the sliver erase him, not while he remembered. Arthur mapped the sliver in his mind, step by agonizing step. He found its boundaries, a shimmering, distorted edge, like imperfect glass. Beyond it, life moved on, untouchable. He followed the boundary, hoping for a flaw. Landmarks became his guide. A scarred tree, a frozen waterfall. The tracer moved in sweeping arcs, erasing the world behind him. Arthur learned to predict its path, navigating by what was missing. His map was a record of absence, a guide through a vanishing world. Each step was a gamble between stasis and annihilation. He was a pawn in a game against oblivion. Survival depended on memory and movement. Arthur was not the first. Near the boundary he saw others, frozen figures caught mid-life. A couple holding hands, a man in a suit, a child chasing a butterfly. All perfectly still, surrendered to the amber. He approached, seeing the details, the engagement ring, the scuffed boot. Each was a story cut short, a warning. Their stillness tempted him to give in, to let the struggle end. But their fate hardened his resolve. He would not join them. He was a ranger, a rescuer. He could not save them, but he could save himself. Their lost moments became his motivation. He moved for them, as well as for himself. He would not be another exhibit in the gallery of the lost. The boundary was ahead. He pressed on, refusing to be claimed. Near the frozen waterfall, Arthur found a flaw, a crack in the boundary. It flickered with unstable light, a possible way out. Hope surged, giving him new strength. The tracer swept in from the east. Time was running out. The final distance was the hardest, the resistance nearly overwhelming. Through the fissure, he saw the real world. Water in motion, ferns swaying, the roar of life. He pushed forward, body screaming, the void cold at his back. He reached out, fingers trembling, and pushed through the curtain. A tearing sensation split him, half in stillness, half in life. The contrast was dizzying. He felt the waterfalls spray the breeze. With a final pull, he collapsed onto moss. The sound of water was deafening. Air rushed into his lungs. The bead of sweat finally fell. He was free. He was back. The world moved around him. Arthur wept, alive in the flow of time. Arthur was found exhausted but alive. He couldn't explain the sliver or the tracer. No one would believe him. Back home, he tried to believe it was over, but the grandfather clock's pendulum slowed, the tick-tock stretching. He saw glitches everywhere. A cup hanging mid-fall, a bird stuttering in flight. Tiny fractures in reality, invisible to others, thunderous to him. He realized he hadn't escaped the sliver. He had brought a piece of it back. He was a carrier, the fracture following him. The stillness spread from his armchair, rippling through the world. Cars crawled, neighbors moved in slow motion. The silence grew, a ripple of stasis in time's pond. He knew the tracer would come. He was the ultimate error. He closed his eyes and waited for the final, perfect quiet. The quiet he could not escape, the quiet he had brought upon the world.